So much growth is able to happen, but it all starts in the mind. What's up, guys? This is Mighty Q here with Mighty Q's Locker, and today I'm bringing on a special guest, CJ Walrath. He is a very decorated wrestler with multiple state titles in Iowa, and he's going to be continuing his wrestling career at the University of Northern Iowa. He also has a bunch of national accolades as well. But this was a conversation that I had with him about his background in wrestling, some things that he's up to, and some things that he's looking forward to. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the conversation. So, I guess getting into the podcast and the nature of it. So, I kind of have a semi rough idea of the thing on, and we're headed to, kind of what got you in and tell people a little bit about your.
So I mean, so I went to high school in Burlington, Notre Dame, which is about 40 minutes away from where I actually live. I live in Keokuk, Iowa, which is right in we call it the Florida of Iowa. It's like right where Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri all meet. It's the most southern part that you could go. And I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and then my dad, he pretty much got me started in it. He got third at state in high school, but he was never really too dedicated in it. But he's the one that got me started in the sport. And I mean, I was okay locally, just uh, just starting off. I mean, I just kind of had a natural feel for the sport, but was never anything special when I was really little. I wasn't great, but good locally, and then started winning a little more once we got into middle school, and then I started out this club, DC Elite, which right in the beginning it was almost too intense for me. I think I got started in that club a little bit too young, and so I had to step back for a little bit, get away from that, and then once I got a little bit older, a little bit more mature, then started going back to the club, and I enjoyed it a lot more. And I think that what really changed is I started showing the coach that I really wanted to get better, and then they started working with me a lot more, and that's when I started having more victories. And obviously, when you're winning, it's a lot funner than when you're losing, and no one really likes to lose. And so then through middle school, started having more success, and then getting into eighth grade year, then a bunch of people started asking me where I was going to go to high school, where I was going to go to high school, because the high school I was supposed to go to in Keokuk, they were never really known for wrestling, but that was just because they just didn't have the people in the room that were really dedicated. So I ended up transferring to Burlington, Notre Dame, and that's where I really got a good relationship with my high school coach, Bill Pleen, and we just kept on growing from there. And he's helped me through a lot of stuff. Bill Pleen and John Siegel, those are my two coaches there, and they've they've really made a huge difference in my life, and they're the reason why I'm going to the next level where I'm going. And that's pretty much the main story. I mean, that's how I kind of got started in all of it until now.
Heck yeah, man. And I definitely can understand the sentiment on that of being at a high school program that isn't as established and something like that, where you went ahead and transferred and you saw the best aspect of that, and you were able to see, hey, this is something that's going to make me a lot better, and you were able to capitalize on that. And so to be able, for both you and your parents to be able to see that and to get yourself in that really good environment to continue, the growth and now, to where and headed level is super awesome. That's hearing, people would have just, oh, well, how to stay at my high school. It's in town, it's in whatever, and I'll do what I'm going to do. And so for you to take that jump and that initiative and for you guys to make that decision is really really awesome. So turning from that, and you have quite a bit of accolades behind your name. What what do you think propelled you most to being able to win the amount of events that you did and the type of events that you did with the state titles and nationals and stuff like that?
Yeah, so a lot of that started. So in middle school, I did do pretty well. I'd always go to Tulsa, and I'd always place pretty high there, and so I was kind of going into high school feeling pretty confident, probably a little bit more confident than I should have. And then once I had losses that I really didn't think that I should have had, then I kind of lost my confidence my freshman year a little bit. And I didn't end up going to the state tournament my freshman year, and that was due to an injury. But I still had 6, 7 losses that I really shouldn't have had throughout that year. And well, honestly, the thing that probably really helped me the most was that COVID year, because I mean I was able to. Well, I guess it was kind of the end of that freshman year, so I mean it was that COVID summer, I should say, spring summer, and gave me time to heal up with that injury that I had, and then really all I did in that time period was just grow. Because I also my freshman year I felt like I was cutting way too much weight, and I still like my freshman year I was 145, and sophomore year I was 170, junior year 182, then 182 again, and so I kind of grew quite a bit in that COVID year, and then I just it was somewhat similar to what I was talking about earlier. I showed the coaches that I wanted to get better, and obviously, if you show them that you want to get better, they're going to work with you a lot more. Because I mean, if you don't, they're not going to waste their time with you. There's plenty of other people in the room that are wanting to get better. So I showed so I showed them that I wanted to get better, and they worked with me a lot more. Um, they brought in I owe a lot to them. They brought in a lot of partners for me, um, a lot of college guys to wrestle with, and as much as I may have hated it at the time, it it really helped me out a lot. Took a little bit of butt whoopings in the wrestling to get where I'm at that year, and then I ended up going from I think I was 45-6 that freshman year to being 49-1 my sophomore year. And I mean, after that year, my confidence just went through the roof, and I had it kind of in my mindset where I'm not going to lose another match in high school, and I mean that's pretty much the mindset you have to have. I mean, when you're going into every match, is there's no way this person's going to beat me. So I mean, I went out there that those next couple years, and that was the mindset that I had, and it ended up going my way most of the time.
Yeah, and that's the it all starts mind. That's the part about this is how put a focus in of okay, who's the mentally stronger wrestler, who's the more prepared wrestler, who's more ready in their mind. It's not always about, being physically ready or anything like that, but you talked about how much size you were able to put on after your freshman year, and that's always huge because I think that there's also a lot of people that wouldn't have been able to realize that, and there's also some other coaches that would have kept you at that lower weight, and they would have kept you down at that lower and wouldn't have allowed you to grow. So the ability to let your body do what it was going to do, and for you to capitalize on that and just be in top shape, ready to go, coming off that injury. And you said you cleared up the mental hurt, and I think that's the biggest catapult for people out there end up or any other. But you hear something because it's like starts in the and
It,
hey, I lose, like that's really all it takes. Like if you just say that over and over and over again, I guarantee you're going to win more matches than you don't.
oh
um,
yeah, especially if you've done the work in the room. I mean, if you know that you've done the work in the room, and you're going out there thinking this guy has not worked harder than me, and you trust in your training, you'll win a lot more matches than you'd think.
I'm in full agreement with you on that one. So moving forward to your next level and getting to the college level, what's something that you're really looking forward to?
I'm just looking forward to being in the just having partners, because that's something I've struggled with throughout the high school season. Um, just having partners, because I mean my main partner that I had this past year, he was a good partner, but he was a lot smaller than me. He was a state champ at 152 pounds, and I was a 182 pounder, and that was the only partner I had throughout the whole year. So I'm looking forward to getting in there and having Parker Kickeisen, uh, all Wyatt Volker, all those guys in there to be able to roll around with, and I just feel like I'll really be able to show show how good I know I can be just by being in that room with those guys and having Roper, Schwab, Randy Pugh, all those guys. I'm just excited to be a part of all that.
Yeah,
And
and
just
so many people don't understand, like you talk having those good partners and being able to get pushed, whether it's having a guy that you can just consistently drill with or someone that's your size or someone even that's of your same caliber and even mental capacity too is having having that team around you and that iron to sharpen that iron. Because then, on those days where, you're not really feeling it as much, that that guy's going to push you. And even if you don't really there, the teammates are you and get you can that next level versus teams out, you know, showing up and they're not focused and goofing around, lollygag. It's not their main sport or whatever it may be. And sometimes that turns to be a hindrance on you. And, sometimes it maybe isn't even, hey, maybe I'm not focused or, it's maybe the rest of the team isn't focused. And, that lack of one practice may carry over to three and then 3 to 10. And then next thing you start losing a couple matches or whatever else may happen. So, having that stacked team and, around you and having the partners is always so important. Always so important because you can't have a good practice without a good partner. And
Oh yeah,
to
oh yeah,
have a good
100%.
practice leads to good competition. But if you're never getting a good practice, you're never even getting the capabilities there. So what do you think that
They project me at 184 pounds,
okay?
174, 184. I think that they're gonna want me to redshirt that first year, and so I'll be in that room just working on trying to get better for that year, going to those open tournaments, and hopefully growing into a 184 pounder, which I have put on a little bit more size since the season because I mean the past 2 years of 182, come to state tournament time, I've been pretty small after that long season. My body just kind of shrinks throughout the season.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. I basically got to the same degree. I decided I was gonna fight at welterweight, and essentially I was walking around at 95 when I first started training, and then next thing you know, it's like now I'm already walking around at like 78 to 82, and I'm like, all right, we need to put on some more size here.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so what are you gonna major in?
I'm looking at majoring in kinesiology, so
Okay, very
I'm pretty,
nice.
yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I got one kinesiology class set up because I went through orientation already, got my schedule back, and I'm pretty excited for it. Um, Looking to actually instead of being in high school, looking at being in a bunch of classes that really don't matter to me, now I actually be able to go to school and actually do something that interests me. So I'm excited for it.
And with that degree, do you have any particular intentions on what you want to do after school and some of the things that you're looking to, after these, 5, 6 years, or, is there anything on the horizons that you got on the 10-year mark or anything like that that you're looking at?
So I've been really interested in well, this is similar. My mom and sister they've both gotten into this as physical therapy, and it's really interested me the past couple years, and I'm starting to really enjoy that. But I've also have an interest in athletic training. I've shadowed a couple strength and conditioning coaches at a couple colleges around the area. And it really does interest me what they do, and I enjoyed being there every single time I was there. So just kind of looking at getting into the field similar to that. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, being one of the ways to transition to anything like that. I feel that wrestlers are, one of the most elite athletes in the world. You can make an argument for gymnasts, you can make an argument for like water polo or, a couple others, but really at the end of the day, I feel that wrestlers, have that little bit of added advantage where, hey, we're cutting weight every single week. And that, little extra bit, I think is that one little difference. So athletic training is one of those underappreciated things I always feel, especially as someone who dealt with injuries growing up and still kind of small stuff now, but the difference that those kind of people can make on your life and helping someone back from an injury, getting them back to 100%, that may have played a big really getting because
Say that one more time. You cut out right there at the end.
was the injury that you out in that freshman year.
So this was actually it was actually really interesting. I've really never met anyone else that's had this. It was so my dad and I we're big into hunting, and we were out in the field, and we were I can't even remember what we were doing. I think we were deer hunting, and I had a thorn that had gone into my had gone to the side of my knee. I didn't even think much of it. And the whole entire season, I was dealing with pop bursa sacs around my knee, and had fluid, had to rest it, try and get all that down. And then come the district tournament, literally about 3 or 4 days before, I uh, I was trying to get a little bit of extra weight off. So I ran around the treadmill. As soon as I got off the treadmill, my knee just started feeling really tight. And I really didn't even know what was going on. It hurt to touch it. Didn't have anything like no discoloration or anything. It just started feeling super stiff, just super super weird. And so then I went to sleep that night. Woke up the next day and it was just completely blown up. It was hot to the touch. And what happened is it turned into a cellulitis where my whole entire leg was swollen, and I went through 1 or 2 practices with it. It really did really bother me. I really couldn't put much weight on it at all, and I went to the district tournament, wrestled my first match, and coach just told me to try and get him done as quickly as possible. So I pinned my first kid, and then we get to the semifinals, and I couldn't get that kid pinned. I think he ended up going and majoring him or something like that, and I was sitting there waiting for the finals match. I hadn't moved, and my leg had stiffened up, and I couldn't even bend it. Whereas before, I could bend it about 90 degrees. This time now, I couldn't even bend it at all. And went out there and tried to finish out that finals match. And my coach saw how much it was bothering me. He just pulled me out of there, and they take the top two, and I didn't have a true second spot because I didn't wrestle that because of my knee, and that was what happened.
Jeez. So what was the treatment on it? What was the
So I had to
how
take
like
well, we were going to the doctors, and they said if it got any worse, they were gonna have to hook me up to IV medication to get the swelling to go down. Which thankfully, I mean, that's why I said COVID really helped me out a lot with all that, because really it was right after that is when we couldn't go back to school. So I was just sitting on the couch, knee elevated, had to ice it for about 20 minutes, take it off for a certain amount of time, and then put it back on. And that was what I was doing every day for a couple months until the swelling finally went down.
Jeez, that is, and I know, especially at that point, you're itching, you're doing everything you can, you know, force sit there. I mean, I broke my collarbone. Just only thing, get surgery is just a sling, we'll looks and and then we'll reassess then. And so yeah, just sitting there watching TV, not getting a chance to do the one thing that you want to do, and it starts to creep on you and whatever else. But the fact that you were able to get that out of the way early, and that for all intensive purposes, I know that you wanted to be a four-timer, but to have the ability to get it done your freshman year and get that out of the way, so to have that open up ability to walk through, and then sophomore, junior, senior year, maybe that was maybe the best situation that could have been, so that way it wasn't anything later.
Oh
Here's a
yeah,
random
yeah.
question for you though. If you had to change one situation about it, you would have.
That freshman year. Uh, that is a tough one actually. If I had to change one thing about that, could it be my mindset? Like just going into every match? Because I mean, if I had to change one thing about it, I probably would have. Man, I never really thought about that actually. It'd probably been my mindset throughout that whole entire season, because I was like I was dreading every single practice that year, and I'd probably actually gone been a 152 pounder honestly. If I was a 152 pounder, I really feel like that would have made a huge difference in that year. I really would have enjoyed the sport a lot more that year. Definitely would have dealt with less injuries, because I mean I really feel like with when you're constantly dehydrating, that your immune system goes down and injuries open up, and I feel like that's a big reason why that happened. So I feel like I would have just gone up a weight class that year.
Heck, that's probably a decision I should have made my sophomore year. Instead of, trying to force myself to wrestle 138, I should have wrestled 52, because I was basically walking around at 54. And
Yeah,
when you were talking about when you started growing in your sophomore year, that's kind of exactly when mine started too. And trying to cut that weight was, like you said, dreading every practice and dehydrated and miserable and just not liking it at all. And it's a sport that you love and brings you so much joy. And it was just like, hey, what's going on here? You have a terrible attitude, and you're not really the real you. And it's crazy to think that um the effect that your diet and that cutting really does on your mental state. And the fact that you were able to, and biggest leading to then sophomore and senior, you just body to grow. And maybe that was exactly what you needed, having that injury to sit there and let your body grow and do the things it needs to do, let you and set you up perfectly. So here we
Yep.
go with a future hypothetical. If you could have one different thing in wrestling, or you think that wrestling should implement one thing, what do you think that would be?
Uh, I'd say in folk style, I honestly really like having that push out in folk style because I mean with my style, I'm really forward, and it just frustrates me so much whenever we're constantly going out of bounds. If I'm pushing the pace and they're backing up and the ref doesn't give us a stall call, so let's say, and I did all that work trying to do a setup, and all that other guy did was just back up. So I really just I, yeah, like that 1 point push out in folk style.
Be beneficial. I think that so what's your take on the new college rules? Have you looked kind of in depth at any of them? Anything that intrigues you?
I looked at it a little bit. That 3 point takedown is going to be interesting. I mean, because I mean, I grew up always going to Carver Hawkeye Arena, watching the Hawkeyes wrestle when I was little. And as soon as someone got a takedown, you just hear the place explode with two, and that's gonna be interesting with that 3 point takedown. But I guess
Yeah,
my I'm really always on the attack with my style, and I like to rack up a bunch of points, and so I feel like that'll be beneficial to me. But I also feel like wasn't one of them where they're gonna have two, three, and then four back points.
yeah. So
I feel
it
like that challenge
it
brick.
it
I feel like that.
it's
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like that challenge brick is going to be thrown a lot more in college now with that.
It very close to count him and swipes and whatnot. But yeah, having it match the points, the amount of swipes, I'd have to agree, because you're going to catch some guys where they're going to get the one and they're going to start on the two and stop halfway, and I think that can definitely cause some issues. But like you were saying with the takedown thing, yeah, three doesn't come out nearly as easy as two does, or it doesn't sound as cool. But I do think that was a really smart move, especially because I think of how difficult it is to get a takedown compared to getting an escape. It's it's an even match, and if the bottom guy gets a slight jump on the whistle, then he has the advantage and he's up to his feet. And versus, hey, we're both staring at each other, not even touching each other. It's hard to get finish that only worth the tooth point versus have the advantage of takedown and up 3-1. Like that's huge. I think that was more important than really anything else. I was glad that they didn't pass the riding time one, which was
Yeah, I
you
agree about that. I agree with that one.
because like
But
you said, you're trying to rack up a bunch of points, you're offensive, you're banging on a guy, but if you're basically wrestling a dude who's stalling on bottom and is just not going to get turned, then you may ride him out the entire match, or rack up a bunch of time. And so to get near fall, I mean, I can think of a lot of matches that you win without getting near fall points. And I just that was I was glad of, I think it was what, 14 to 15, and so that being the only that
yeah,
that and that you were saying size, do you think that really well, especially with like you were talking about, having those guys in the room. Because I haven't looked at UNI's roster currently this year. How because around you were talking about those guys, I forget which class they're in with like your weight class. What kind of guys class wise are you going to have around your weight at 74 and 84?
So around 74, we got Lance Runyon. He didn't go this year, but he was national qualifier the year before. And he had a really good year. He was dealing with it. I think he was dealing with a lot of injuries, is what I've heard this past year. But they've got Nick Fox coming in, who's another. He's an Iowa local. He's from Osage, and he'll be in that room, so I'll be a good partner. They have Jared Sima, who's around the 174. He's a hammer. Um, they've got obviously they got Parker Kekai in there at 184, and I think as far as I know, I think that him and I are the only 84 pounders that they have in there. But
Okay,
I could be
gotcha.
wrong. I could be wrong, but I think him and I are the only 84 pounders that they have. And then at 97, they've got Wyatt Volker, and I'm getting big enough now where I'll probably wrestle. I mean, I'll obviously wrestle 74, 84, and 97 guy pounders whenever I'm in the room, but I'm getting big enough now. I'll probably wrestle a lot of the 97 pounders uh, and work around with them, especially Volker. He's he's having a really good summer.
Yeah,
You see all the
I was
victories that
always a
he's had.
fan. Yeah, I was always a fan of wrestling guys that were both older and as you had earlier, beat up and is the best beat up. That only that much on and it's like wrestling like lighter your normal partner. It's like this isn't compared
Oh
to
yeah,
some of
that's
those
how
guys in
that's
the
how
room.
yeah that's how my whole high school career was. I was wrestling guys that were lighter than me, and as as much fun as it was, I mean, winning all the time practice, it kind of started getting old, and I wanted to get. I just didn't feel like I was getting much better wrestling those guys. I mean, obviously they have their pluses wrestling guys like that. I mean, with the guy that I was wrestling this past year in the high school room, I mean, he's super quick, and that helped me a lot with my speed. But I just needed that. I just needed a guy that was a lot bigger than me to help push me and get a feel of that strength around 182 pounds. And fortunate enough, we ended up bringing in a couple guys that were out of college, and we brought them in to wrestle to roll around with me, and that helped a lot right before the state tournament.
Well, shark and getting 2 3 other and bang keep it. So two questions. One is a question that well it's a question that you respond with a question but that's going to be the second one. But this first one is what's going into this first year, and you said you're most likely going to be redshirt and whatnot, but what's one or a couple goals that you have looking forward to this year, and then we'll get into the other question after. But what are some goals that you're looking for? What are some things that you're trying to get set up, and whatever things that are important to you for this first year?
So it's gonna be similar to how I mean um, freshman going into sophomore year is where my mindset changed. I just want to focus on keeping my confidence high. I mean, I'm gonna be wrestling guys that are 23, 24 years old maybe, and I may start thinking, oh my gosh, this dude's a lot older than me, and he's a lot bigger than me. He's got that old man strength. He's been in that college room a lot longer than I have, but I just need to keep my confidence high and trust in my skills. And I mean, I'm in here. I'm at this level for a reason, and I just need to show that. So I just want to kind of make a name for myself this first year and show everyone that I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with come the future. And like I said, I just want to keep my confidence high and believe in all my skills and just continue to learn and stay focused every day that I'm in that room and just be a sponge and soak up everything that that I'm learning.
Heck yeah, man. I love hearing that. That's that's a very smart thing. That's something that you can definitely work towards every single day. It's not like it's a set number or anything. So that's good on that mindset. Question being, you had this is for next guest, whatever to this, something guest at what's for the next level. So this question is to going to go to the next guest, and it can be really about anything. Um, but it's something that I like to do with to get a carryover from guest to guest. And so, what would it be a question for that next person?
Um, uh, I'm gonna have to go with the off season. What are you doing in that off season that's different from everyone else? I mean, to try and get better. I mean, you know what I mean? Because I mean, everyone has their own little thing that they do in the off season to try and get better. I mean, what would their off season look like?
Okay, perfect. So, what do you do off season to get back?
Yep. Are you wanting me to answer that right? Or you want me to answer that or?
Well, sure. I had so yes. Have you go as well?
All right. So in the off season, I mean, you know how during the season we're focused up and we're yeah, like in my high school coach here is just always talking about staying completely focused during the season. In the off season, I almost feel like I wrestle best in the off season whenever I go to a tournament, just because I mean you're so relaxed, you're not overthinking everything, you're really not worrying about the weight factor, obviously, because I mean you're in the off season, you're just trying to grow. So I mean, it's just having fun with it. I mean, making sure I'm in the room 3, 4 times a week, making sure I'm staying up lifting every chance I get, which I mean that's that's usually just throughout every day throughout the week, just trying to do every little thing that I can to improve. I mean, just keeping up with conditioning, not eating a bunch of crap, and just putting the right stuff in my body as I would during the season. But obviously, having some more because I mean you're not during not in the season, so I mean just having fun with it, and that's how I've improved. I feel like a lot is just having fun with it every time I'm in there, and just getting the new positions rolling around, and that's how I've always these past couple of years that I've found to really improve in the off season.
You said it. Fun. That's always the key. If you're not having fun, it's normally means that you're not learning. And I think that most people need to be able to take that approach where it's like, hey, you need to stay and pay attention in the off season. Too many guys, the minute that they step off the scale, or state finals day, and you know, all right, perfect, I can go eat whatever I want, and then for the next 3 months, they're sitting on a sheet of drink Dr. Pepper and Mount Stop. Too much way max approach season, you know, okay to stuff every so often, and making sure to maintain and still keep learning, keep having fun, keep grinding, so that way you never even fall behind. You're steadily advancing, you're continuing to gain ground, always constantly climbing that mountain. So where can everybody find you at? What are all your socials and other ways that people would be able to find you and make sure that they can keep up with your journey as, you being a brand ambassador? I will, I'm entwined with your journey. I'm going to be, alongside with you. And so, I know how to find you, but what about everyone else?
Yeah, so I post quite a bit on Instagram and just I mean, just pretty much everything throughout life. I mean, that I do is just I'm a big hunter, fisherman, just an outdoorsman, and I post a lot about wrestling. And when I get the brand that comes in, I'll probably post that just to promote it a little bit better. But my Instagram is CJ Walrath, just my name, uh, no numbers or anything like that added to it. And pretty sure I really don't post a whole lot on TikTok, but my TikTok's the same thing, CJ Walrath, and that's about it. Pretty simple.
And that's all it needs to be. Keep it simple,
Yep.
Well, CJ, I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you telling, some people about your story, and I'm super excited for this next stage of your journey. I assume that, from the way that you talk about it, all I hear is, excitement from you, and I know that you're really looking forward to this opportunity, and I am as well. So I appreciate you taking the time and, stopping in and chatting it up for a little bit.
Yep. No problem.